against the former president, who also got a warning from the judge.
Judge Juan Merchan admonished former President Donald Trump for muttering and gesturing toward a prospective juror, while former President Trump's lawyers questioned that juror about her credibility, specifically regarding a post on social media that was made shortly after the 2020 election.
Fox's Nate Foy at State Supreme Court in Lower Manhattan. The judge has already set a hearing next week on potential gag order violations. President Biden hits the campaign trail, kicking off 3 days of events in Pennsylvania by contrasting tax policies in his hometown, Scranton. On Capitol Hill,
hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
The Senate receiving articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, charged with willfully and systematically refusing to enforce immigration laws. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer could move to block a trial.
Impeachment should never be used to settle a policy disagreement. Talk about awful precedents. This would set an awful precedent for Congress.
Republican Iowa Senator Joni Ernst tells Fox News,
this will be the first time in history that there has not been a trial if Leader Schumer decides to table those articles of impeachment. Only one other time have we not have a trial, and that's simply because there was a resignation.
The next step is for senators to be sworn in as jurors tomorrow. A transgender sports ban is not overturned in West Virginia. The Associated Press correcting its reporting on an appeals court decision earlier today. Instead of overturning the ban on Title IX concerns, the ruling is that the ban discriminates against a transgender 13-year-old who has publicly identified as a girl since third grade and has taken puberty blockers. Mixed day on Wall Street, the Dow up 63. America's listening to Fox News.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Convicted killer Scott Peterson back in court in California 20 years after he was found guilty of murdering his pregnant wife Lacey and dumping her body in the San Francisco Bay. Today's brief hearing, the first of 3 in Peterson's long shot bid for a new trial.
The 51-year-old appeared via Zoom from the state prison where he's serving a life sentence. His new lawyers with the LA Innocence Project want to interview his former neighbors in Modesto who claim they saw Lacey alive after Scott says he went fishing on Christmas Eve 2002. More legal wrangling to come, but here's the bottom line. If the judge rules in favor of the LA Innocence Project, we could have a redo of one of the most sensational murder trials in recent history and a stunning twist in the Scott Peterson case. In Redwood City, California, Claudia Cowan, Fox News.
The family of a Colorado man tased on a highway before being struck and killed are suing a sheriff's deputy.
Karen Kay and David Thompson say Larimer County Sheriff's Deputy Lorenzo Lujan is responsible for the death of their son Brent. Deputies pulling the 28-year-old over for an expired license plate on Interstate 25 last year, saying he gave them a fake name and when asked to get out, ran toward the freeway. Body camera video shows the deputy tasing Thompson before he was hit by a car. County District Attorney not finding the deputy criminally responsible, noting there's no training on whether to deploy tasers on highways. The family claims the officer used excessive force, alleging wrongful death. They're seeking a trial and damages for medical and funeral bills and pain and suffering.
Fox's Christine Goodwin. More sad news in baseball. Just getting word Carl Erskine, the last surviving member of the so-called Boys of Summer, has died. He was 97. Erskine spent his whole major league career with the Dodgers, helping them win 5 National League pennants and the team's only World Series in Brooklyn in 1955. This follows word earlier today Whitey Herzog was dead at 92. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for you, Central Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, vicinity, and yet another one of these sprawled out and expansive spring storm to wind its way through the Midwest over the next couple of days. It'll mean a gusty southeast to south wind, a high near 80 today, but in between partly sunny skies and a couple of scattered showers and thunderstorms around later on this morning, more widespread this afternoon. At evening time, that southeast wind up to 25 to 30 miles per hour, up near 40 miles per hour gust tonight with a low down to 65. Tomorrow, quite windy, mild, and isolated shower and thunderstorm in spots for the morning, and a partly sunny sky too with a high near about 72. New showers break out here for the day on Thursday late in the day with a high near 70. Cooler air with an isolated shower threat in the morning. A Friday high, partly sunny and 60, and towards the upper 50s for the weekend. A little frost patch Monday at 62. Highs near 60 continue on into the front part of next week. Probably expectations of about an inch worth of rain and maybe some stronger storms too later on this afternoon and evening time. For Stevie Day Broadcasting at Peter Olchis, Greg Solgay.
Hey, what's up? It's The Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Lante, Kyle Toss. None of us are in the transfer portal. That is something to be thankful for because a lot of other people are. Illinois basketball with another addition to that. Not necessarily surprising. Not surprising at all, really, when you think about Chester Frazier leaving with Illinois recruiting at the 4 spot, interested in bringing in a 5 as well. And we'll start there. We also got to talk about other happenings in the Big Ten. Indiana got a big addition via the portal. Mike Woodson's been working. Will it mesh this year? Will they have any shooters? That is still yet to be determined, but they added a front court piece, and he continues to turn Indiana into inside-out U.
There is some rumor that there is a radio station in Tampa that kind of reached out to me, and so I may be in the portal soon. How I got like 10 more days?
You have 2 weeks essentially.
2 weeks. Okay, that'll give me time to kind of negotiate.
What
So
you're saying
talking
is
about tampering.
Stevie has to up his NIL
That's correct.
funds to keep you.
Well, he doesn't know this yet, so I haven't sprang that on him. So yeah, no, I kid. There's not a radio station that wants me. But is that how it would work? I would then go into the portal. I knew as soon as I opened that door, the Philo Express would come through. My fault. I would enter the portal, and then everybody would kind of tempt me with different things.
They could, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to think about it. Not going to lie to you. If guys are making $750,000, $750,000.
That is happening out there for sure.
So Amani is your guy.
He was my guy for sure.
I heard Kyle say that yesterday, and I agree. And you had me extremely excited for him when he came.
Yeah,
and
I remember being at Peach Jam. Talking to you guys back here about what he was doing over there. One of the best big men in that event, and just thought it was a great evaluation, great move by Illinois, prioritize him at the right time, and was really excited about his future.
I was also laughing when you guys were talking about how Notre Dame and Illinois could just, or Shrewsbury could, they could just flip, right? We'd get Booth, and he would get Hansberry, who we wanted from the beginning when he was still at Penn State. Would you think that Hansberry leaving would be because of Chester or because of being technically over-recruited?
That's a good question. I think it's probably a little bit of both. Now, you add in, I think Chester on its own could have made him leave regardless, especially if there was some feeling or communication that Chester wants to bring him to Morgantown as well to be part of West Virginia, which would put him closer to home on the East Coast. And I know that West Virginia is not necessarily an East Coast school, but you're on the East and you're not that far away from his home there in that DMV area, Baltimore technically. But I do think that the way that they've approached this roster, and I think that they would still have gone after a guy like Kerry Booth, a stretch 4, even if Chester was still here. So they were going to, if recruit over is not the right way to say it, it would be bring in competition, not guarantee him anything. I don't have a problem with saying they were recruiting over him because I think that they kind of were. I think there were questions about how do him and Merez fit. With Amani, you're either getting a 6'7" small ball 5, or you're getting a 4-man that needs to still show that he can shoot more. Now, he had a couple threes against UConn. He's shown that he can shoot it a little bit and can continue to progress that part of his game. Not the most mobile in terms of defending the perimeter, but still I think he can be a really nice college player. We haven't seen him a ton. I mean, how many minutes did he play this year?
Not much. Not much at all.
Pulling it up here. He played in 19 games, averaged 7.5 minutes a game, so it would have been a total of
that's a lot of math.
ESPN's not showing me that.
Oh.
I figured they would just flat out say, here's the number of minutes. Nope. 7.5 times 19. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of work.
70-some minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
Well, I mean, it's just, you know, as we go at this now, gone are the days of bringing in a kid of Coleman Hawkins' ilk and watching him develop through 4 years. I just don't think you're going to see it happen very often. And there's going to be multiple reasons why. Number one, they're going to be over-recruited or competition brought in. Yeah. Two, they're not going to like the minutes they played early in their tenure, and they're going to move on. And this is with every college, right? This isn't just Illinois. And then different levels face different things where, I don't know, Pipes, I think if I'm a 3-star guy that is longing to play Power 5 or, ball, I have changed my tune to the point where I'm going to a smaller school, playing right away, and showing something for at least a freshman or sophomore year. And then, number one, I'm the guy being hunted instead of, I'm the guy that they're coming to bring to now over-recruit these other people that were in my 3-star spot that went ahead and went to a Power 5 school. Right. Now that's the cool thing now. Now, in 2 years, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're on one of those, water slides where there's a turn every 2 feet, and we're just learning like, oh, well, this year it's this. Oh, well, this year it's this. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. Literally when I left the show yesterday, you guys continued to talk about things, and I was like, so who did we lose and who do we have back? Like, in my mind, I was just trying to figure out, okay, Shannon's gone, probably Damask, probably Hawkins. You lost Guerrier, you lost Harmon. And
you lost Dane.
Now you've lost Dane.
Sincere. And Amani.
Okay, so then now you got
Kylan
Boswell, Jake Davis.
Trey
White. Luke Goody's still here. DGL's still here.
Ty Rogers is still here.
Oh, I keep forgetting Ty.
Nico Moretti's still here.
So now we lost 8, we got 8.
Jason Jaxis is coming in.
Oh, that's right. Plus, here's the other thing. I don't even think about the freshmen. Yeah. Like, seriously, remember in the past, it would be like when Amani, that's the perfect example. You would talk about him on the AAU circuit, Peach Jam. I couldn't wait for him to arrive as a freshman. Those first 2 exhibition games, if they still do those, now I don't even know what the hell they do now. I'd be like, well, I want to see Amani take the court. I want to see what he's got. I know he's got years to develop. Now, I don't even think about this freshman class coming in. And oh, by the way, you've already lost one of them with Jace not committing now or whatever you call it.
Yep.
Decommitting. And so Merez Johnson in any other sector of my life, if you go back and you did like a 4-year span of any other time in my life, I would be sitting here right now telling you how excited I am to watch Merez Johnson. And I can tell you right now that I am excited to watch Merez Johnson. I don't even think about him because now I'm just too worried about what else is coming in, what else is joining. And then, oh, by the way, you've got this unbelievable stud who could have been a McDonald's All-American, Merez Johnson, that's coming to join Illinois. And it's like he's kind of an afterburner thought now, or I don't know, afterthought now. And it's like he shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. Because I can't wait for him to watch. For me to watch him play basketball. Isn't it funny? I know I'm regurgitating all over the place here, but It's weird.
It is. It's twofold. One, it is kind of frustrating that you can't, as a fan, fully latch onto a guy like that. You couldn't. I mean, if you did latch onto Amani, you're burned today because he's going into the portal. And I know you would hope, and Illinois has a lot of big plans for how Mrez is going to develop and what he's going to become at Illinois. I don't think he's a guy that's. I can't say this with 100% certainty. I don't think he's going to be a guy that gets recruited over. I don't think he's going to be a guy that you have to worry too much about that. But maybe in year one, I don't know if they're fully confident and married to starting him.
That's fair.
As a freshman, as they did with Ayo, as they did with Kofi, as they did with Adam Miller. Like, I think it might be a situation where they'll look and see what they can get the 5 spot, and maybe Mrez comes off the bench. I still think Mrez will play 15, 20 minutes a game. I don't think it will be like Amani this year. I don't think it'll be like Dane this year where he's struggling to get minutes and kind of in and out of the rotation. But, yeah, I mean, Mrez is up there with Ayo as one of the highest-rated recruits you've had in the last, post-2005, really.
Wow.
I mean, Jeremy Richmond obviously is up there. Myers Leonard was in the top 30 range. But normally that is the guy that you're super excited and pumped about and wanting to see more than anybody. I think the flip side of it is if the guys we named that are going out, let's just say what if we're in the old era of college basketball? Now, this would take away, we wouldn't be talking about Terrence Shannon because he probably doesn't transfer here.
Nope.
We probably wouldn't be talking about Marcus Damask because he wouldn't have a COVID year. But just play this game with me. What if you had that roster and Shannon leaves and Damask leaves and Quincy leaves? Those are 3 starters.
Oh.
And you lose Harmon, who's off the bench, and who am I missing? Coleman, another starter. 4 starters.
I can't remember who you named that.
So 4 starters from this past year, you lose. And the number one guy to look forward to coming in is a true freshman in Mrez Johnson. You're probably not going to be very good.
You're finishing 9th in the Big Ten if you're lucky.
It's a rebuild year.
Right.
Even if you keep Dane and you keep Amani and you keep Sincere and you have Ty and Luke and those guys. But if Mrez is the best guy you get, and I know that the grad transfer route would open up some possibilities, but you're talking about a limited pool of talent then versus what it is now. Your ability to reload and be competitive and maybe even challenge for the top echelon of the Big Ten or try to go on a deep run again, that's changed because of what possibilities are out there with the portal. So that's where there's 2 sides of it. I think that people have to keep in mind both. I'm not saying that you have to just focus on the building of it and just completely ignore the emotional side of it or the excitement side of it that you used to have with freshmen, but also there's the flip side too.
You've essentially taken the blueprint that was Kentucky of adding all freshmen. Because they did that every year, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this was the issue they had every year. Although a Kentucky fan wouldn't say it was an issue because they'd lose 3 5-stars and gain 3 5-stars. So they would be just as excited the next year about what was coming in. But you've essentially taken that blueprint and added experience. So now Illinois, essentially the last 2 years, is Kentucky with regards to adding freshmen, except Illinois last year added a bunch of 23-year-old dudes. So, I mean, it's essentially just you've created – there was this blueprint that was there that most people didn't want to swim in. They didn't want to go anywhere near that area of the pool. And then you even had people saying, well, I don't know if that's really going to work, but certainly Kentucky did well with it and other blue bloods, don't get me wrong, and other schools that could do that. And now you've kind of just tweaked it to where you're essentially doing the same thing in terms of bringing new people in every year, free agents almost.
Yep.
But yet you're adding some experience to it. And you kind of were at – it's so funny the last 2 years how you've been at both ends of the spectrum. 2 years ago, you were like one of the youngest teams in the country, and you kind of saw how that unraveled. And there was certainly that was not very fun to navigate through. I'll be honest with you. I didn't really enjoy talking about Sky Clark and then leaving halfway through, and then Jaden Epps and his weight trainer that hated everybody in the world except for Jaden. And like you had all these just weird side stories to everything. And then this last season, you didn't have one iota of issues. But you were like the oldest team and now, so it's like, okay, now my 3rd year of this is going to be experienced with a few guys that are older, a few guys that are younger, and you're just kind of right in the middle now this year. You went from the youngest to the oldest to now we're kind of back in the middle. Mm-hmm. Now, how's this going to play out? I mean, it's so weird. It is so different than the bringing in Corey and Demir and Lucas, and you're like, as freshmen, you don't do well. You know, you kind of have that run in the Big Ten tournament, but you're like, boy, these guys are going to be good in 2 or 3 years. And then, you know, their sophomore year, they get to the tournament and they look really good. And then in your mind, you're like, oh my God, these next 2 years are going to be amazing. And they were. Now I have no idea. Like, if you ask me how good is Illinois going to be, not this year, but next, I'd be like, hell, I don't know. I don't even know who will be here.
Right. But I will say, like, to your point, though, in the old school way of thinking, bringing Merez in, then you start to say, okay, next year it'll be fun to watch because you'll see some young guys progress and whatnot. But 2 years from now, when Merez is a sophomore and Amani's a junior and DGL's a junior, and then Fears comes in as a freshman and like Ty's a senior, like that, then you could piece it all together and be like, all right, it's more of a 2-year window versus completely scramble up the deck and let's see who the new cards are this year. I mean, it's crazy that as of right now, there are literally only 4 returning scholarship players.
That's
now,
unreal.
Luke Goody can be he's not going to be as much of a focal point player like Coleman became, I don't think, but he could be a 4-year old school
that is true.
Type of guy. But
that is true.
The rarity of it is only becoming more and more rare.
Yeah, and I'm glad that my staff, that's unprofessional, I'm glad that Illinois' staff is really good at this game so far. They've not shown me one thing that they're not good at playing this game. So that's great for me because, like you're saying, whereas with Corey and those guys, it developed over time, and maybe their sophomore years you weren't like really fired up, but you knew they were gaining and you knew one day they'd be good. Now it could just be, Illinois could be a top 25 team easily again next year if the right pieces fall, right? If you add Storr to this thing with Boswell and you add Maddox and Booth comes and all of a sudden you're like, well, hold on a second. Illinois could be ranked 18th in the country to start the season, whereas if you're waiting on freshmen, you might be 40th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you bring up a good point when it comes to that.
I know that Kyle and I discussed this last week, but you can mix the two worlds of some of the little bit of a longer-term view, even just like a 2-year window view with trying to win immediately, because Kylan Boswell can be here for 2 years. Kerry Booth can be here for 2 years if he comes, and I think he will commit to Illinois at some point this week. Trey White can be here for 2 years, and obviously Merez this year and next year. So it can be a little bit of both, and that Illinois will try to build a very competitive roster for next season, and we'll try to get like a guy like Dante Maddox who's on campus today, get a big scoring wing of like an AJ Storr or someone else to try to be able to fulfill that in terms of immediate impact. They want to win next year for sure and go on another run, but maybe it is 2 years where they benefit from that too if they can keep some of these guys sticking around as well. But one note I thought of, and I meant to mention this because we were on the topic here recently about Duke and Kentucky and how long it's been since Kentucky's even been to the Sweet 16. And those are the two programs that I most associate with being at the top of the rankings in high school recruiting.
Right.
Getting the most 5 stars. So both of those programs were in the Final Four in 2015. There have been 8 Final Fours since then, and only 1 appearance between the two. Duke in 2022. As I mentioned, Kentucky hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since 2019.
Wow.
So there are different, like you said, there are different ways to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
You play it with all freshmen. Even if you're knocking out of the park with pros and you're sending guys to the NBA and you're churning in 4 or 5 stars 1 year, they leave, you bring in 4 new 5s. That's not necessarily getting you where you want to go, or especially where that echelon of program is expected to go. There's also the stubborn nature of Tom Izzo says, I'm not playing the portal game.
Amen.
And he's capping that ceiling there in East Lansing that used to be thought they could go to a Final Four any given year. Now they're not. They're lucky to get to the second weekend.
That's right. That's right.
So there's that part of it. We'll see what Purdue's future looks like. If Painter's not going to just say, they should have been throwing, if they have it, $1.2 million or whatever it took to get Omar Ballo to bring him to Purdue,
right?
To be the Zach Edey replacement. If they don't go do that, if they don't go spin big and try to get this a top level 5 to just take advantage of the sell they have right now, then they're leaving meat on the bone on what they could be. So I think that Illinois, with their current approach, yes, it stinks to lose some of these guys, but I think it's kind of the right way to do it for the most part. Not that we're not going to see Amani. If Amani goes to West Virginia, or maybe Shrews gets him at Notre Dame and becomes a nice player, you might regret that one. You might say, man, I wish we would have prioritized him enough, guaranteed him enough as far as playing time or what have you to keep him. But I do think that this method of playing the game is better than some of these other ones out there too.
100% agree. And I use the analogy of like a water slide where there's turns everywhere, and this is kind of what we're going through. Eventually, at the end, it always straightens out and you go straight down, right? That's the fun of it. Will COVID, now that is almost done, is there one more class of COVID kids?
Yes, this last cycle. Like Coleman Hawkins was a senior this past year, but he has a COVID year.
Okay.
So that crop of class of 2020 can use a COVID year if they want, but after that, then it's done. What
will it do to what we're looking at now, the landscape we're looking at now? Will it kind of, like instead of sliding all over the place, will it kind of straighten this out a little bit, or will it still be crazy as all get out because anybody can go anywhere?
I think it will still be wild and crazy.
Yeah.
It's just going to have...
I feel like it'd be more, the freshmen coming in will be more of an impact.
I think that's possible. I hope to see it go that way because I feel like a player like Luke Goody or some of these other guys have just gotten the raw end of a deal where every year, when it's traditionally supposed to be their year, now they have to hold up their end of the bargain with development and being ready to help you. But, here's a guy who's 23 that has played 4 years in college but was gifted a 5th year because of the COVID year, even though maybe his team played a full season and whatnot. So I think that it will shrink it'll shrink the pool some of all the different guys that you can go out and get. But I still think that unless something changes, especially with the multi-year transfer, if you can transfer every year if you wanted to, then this will be a madhouse forever.
Yes.
It just will.
100%.
So unless that changes, I think that you're still going to have one crazy water slide for sure.
Heath, I know what he's trying to say, but I feel like Lon's forgetting one pretty big issue that we had this last year. No, you're right, and it was kind of what I was trying to regurgitate, is that we're just going to be going through this wild scenario every year, essentially, and I guess you just get used to it or you don't like it. And I don't mind it. Honestly, I don't mind it. It's probably the one thing as I've gotten older that I've just embraced. I'm like, you know what? This little internet thing's coming along. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I guess I'll like this cell phone, although now sometimes I want to throw those as far as I can. But like this thing, I'm just like, you know what? I like it because I feel like Brad and this staff are really good at it.
Right.
I feel like they're good at this. And so maybe this evens the playing field, whereas I used to complain all the time about, the stud recruits from the state of Illinois going elsewhere, and I would complain about stuff like that. I feel like this has kind of evened the playing field for a university like Illinois. Not that Illinois basketball isn't one of the best programs in the country. We know it can be and should be. It's back. In other words, Brad brought it back to where we're used to it. We're not those 10 years that we watched fly by and lost essentially out of our life with John Gross and the end of the Weber and all of that. Those were just excruciating. But now I feel like, a program like Illinois where maybe let's face it, you hardly ever got the 5-star out of Chicago. Derrick Rose didn't come here. Jabari Parker, Anthony Davis. Yeah, those guys did not come here. They just didn't, and they weren't going to come here. And yet now, like I've said to you, now I'm keeping good graces with everybody because one day they're going to come back around and come on home. and we'll take you. And I just feel like that's what has happened with this, is that's opened it up. Now, I will say one thing. I think Brad Underwood, now Self didn't get enough time, I don't think, to prove this, but I think Brad Underwood, unlike any other coach really in the modern era, can recruit coast to coast. right? And I think he's shown that with guys he's gotten out there. I mean, Coleman Hawkins is from California, as an example. So I Frazier, although Gross got Frazier, I guess. But it's one of those.
Kofi was in New York.
Yeah, Kofi in New York. Good call.
Been able to go to a lot of different.
So I feel
internationally, even
exactly
like Andres Feliz.
So I feel like Underwood has brought that to the table with the coast to coast kind of recruitment. But now it's everybody's coast to coast. Like, you look at anybody's roster, and I can remember the day when it was 4 of your 5 guys were from Illinois, right? And 4 of Indiana's 5 guys were from Indiana, and just go on down the line. 4 of Texas guys were from Texas, and now it's you hear the starting lineups at the national championship game, and there's one dude from that state, maybe.
Right.
And that's kind of what it's just opened up this crazy world of go anywhere, and that's great for the kids. I mean, it's great for the kids. I hate it for literal kids now, because it used to be you could latch on to a guy like Corey Bradford for 4 years, and they've had that with Coleman, but now it's just going to be well, if you want to get that guy's uniform, that's not a bad idea, but he's probably not going to be here next year. But maybe for the kid, that's good. He'll get new uniforms every year. We got Christmas built in every year.
Eventful Christmas, yeah, no doubt.
Dads everywhere are yes!
I do think that there's still the opportunity for someone to go in. It's just that much harder for a freshman.
Correct.
At the places, I think there are programs that want to be a little bit more developmental. I wouldn't worry as much if you want to go to Purdue and you might get that chance to be Braden Smith or Fletcher Lawyer. And
Matt Painter's holding on to that, isn't he?
It seems like that.
He's holding on to that development thing.
We'll see. We'll see how that works, especially as far as the 5-man goes there. But
no doubt.
Then someone like Illinois, like what Eric Musselman was doing at Arkansas. There are a lot of other programs. Indiana's big in the portal right now, so it's hard. It's that much harder. It already was hard for a freshman to come in and impact. But not only is your roster older, and not only is there the incentive for the coach you're going to play for to go get dudes in the portal, when you are on the court, you're against a lot of guys who are 20 and 22 and 23 years old. Like Quincy Guerrier looks like he just played 10 years in professional basketball.
No, you're right. You're exactly. We've got some great texts on the U of I Atlanta Lake text line.
Yeah, and speaking of someone that is back in the portal, or I should say in the portal, back on the market.
I kind of called that.
You did.
And the second part of it needs to happen now for me to be successful with that hot take.
And we'll get to that. That's the tease. We'll also talk about the Indiana edition that they made and any other thoughts out there. I know we got some Chester Frazier texts. We can get to those as we go along. 217-359-2255 on the U of I Atlanta Link text line to hit us up. Got to catch a break here. We'll return talking more Atlanta hoops. This is The Drive.
Norm Miller here, chairman of Interstate Batteries. Without batteries, life would be pretty lifeless. That's why Interstate All Battery Centers carry them in every size, shape, and style so you can drive, drill, call, film, or do whatever it is you want to do. Stop in today. They've got the power to keep you going. Interstate All Battery Center. Outrageously dependable.
Interstate All Battery Center. You'll find them outrageously dependable just over Interstate 74 at 2504 North Mattis Avenue in Champaign, with batteries for most every application in stock.
I'm Justin Ike, co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground.
So, Justin, tell me what you see as typical when it comes to sewer repair. Give me a scenario.
Your sewer's backed up and somebody comes along and says, you need this repair for X amount of dollars. Here's my price. And you don't think to go looking for another company or a second opinion because you don't feel like you have time.
So is it possible that you might get charged a little more because it's kind of a desperate moment? Do some companies do that?
Oh, absolutely they will. They know you're in a pinch. Typically, if you call us, me or Will can be out there within an hour to look at that problem for you. Whether you call me first or you call me second, make sure you give me a call.
Anything else, Justin?
You can always trust Fred's.
Great to know. Thank you. That's Justin Ike, the co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground. If you want more information about this great 45-year family-owned company, just go to fredscu.com. That's fredscu.com.
Hey, where are you headed?
To Kelsey Furniture in Tuscola.
What do they have there?
What don't they have there?
living room furniture, benches, chests, love seats, sectionals, tables, bedroom sets, hutches, nightstands, end tables, cabinets, mirrors, stools, clocks, lamps, pillows, rugs, desks, media consoles, patio furniture, Tempur-Pedic mattresses, and more.
So, everything.
Yeah, probably could have just said that.
Kelsey Furniture, quality for less. PDR Automotive has now been serving the Champaign-Urbana area for over 50 years. To give you some perspective, 50 years ago ended the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, and it was when Secretariat won the Triple Crown. So what does that mean for you and your vehicle? Whether you need a carburetor overhauled or your new vehicle computer system diagnosed or programmed, PDR Automotive has the experienced, knowledgeable staff that can handle all your automotive needs. Online at pdrauto.com, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
So when was the last time you saw a best deal guarantee?
You mean a promise that actually held up?
Right.
That some unknown online entity didn't want you to log in and download a code and then re-verify as you join some club?
Drives you nuts, I know.
And then once you purchase that set of steak knives...
Well, Dick Van Dyke Appliance World is a lot simpler. You find a verified great deal and they beat it. Just show them the deal you saw. A newspaper clipping or the online cart price will do, and then you're good.
At Dick Van Dyke Appliance World, it's one of those instances where you see a best deal guarantee and...
you get the best deal.
This is Dennis Rieken, chairman of Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. Our exclusive 10-year protection plan comes free with most appliance purchases. Whether it's a GE, Whirlpool, Frigidaire, Bosch, or any of our 30 brands, I guarantee we will beat any competitor's deal. Wow!
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
When it comes to finding a reliable vehicle, look no further than Sarah Champagne, your trusted automotive destination. They carry a lineup of top brands, including Honda, BMW, Subaru, GMC, and Buick. And they're not just about cars, they're about people. Their team is dedicated to providing you with trustworthy service and dependable vehicles that fit your lifestyle. Experience the difference at Sarah Champagne. Visit Sarah, S-E-R-R-A, champagne.com.
Hi, I'm Tyler Weaver, president of Carpet Weaver's Flooring and Furniture Gallery. There's no better time to update your home, and here's a big plus. It's all for less at the Karastan Rebate Plus event. Through Sunday only, save on beautiful Karastan carpets and floors with rebates up to $1,000. Save on Karastan's luxurious carpets and durable luxury vinyl. Karastan Luxcraft is designed with long-lasting materials that resist water, scratches, and dents. Plus, get a bonus free labor credit on every carpet and floor. For every 100 square feet of flooring material purchased, receive a $50 instant labor credit. Plus, get instant rebates on all furniture, rugs, and accessories. Save $250 on every $1,000 you spend. And buy it all with free financing for 3 years. Subject to credit approval, see store for details. Through Sunday only, the Karastan Rebate Plus event at Carpet Weaver's Flooring and Furniture Gallery. Come home to Carpet Weaver's.
Hey, April, we're going to save some money in April. That's what Busey is recommending, and they give you some tips on how to do that. How about save automatically? The easiest way to save? Well, it's automatically. It doesn't matter how much or what you're saving, but when you make the smart decision to have a portion of your income automatically deposited into a savings account, you've increased your chances for success. That's a great idea. Save for the unexpected. You never know when that car's going to break down. Dental bill, last-minute fun treat, maybe. Maybe you want to purchase something. Save as a family. How much better would Americans be with money if we were intentional about teaching good money and saving habits at a young age? For a fun and animated program to teach kids about earning and saving, you can visit Busey.com/financial pathways. Invest in your financial future. Visit Busey.com to get started, or stop by one of their convenient locations today for solutions to your personal business and wealth management needs. Busey, member FDIC.
We've had some texts on the U of I Line League text line. Want to get to those here coming up. Talk Indiana, the big addition that they made. Will Kyle be agreeing with Mike Woodson and his roster building philosophies this year? Crystal Ball says no. But let's start with this. We've had a few text in. What's the holdup on West Virginia announcing Chester Frazier? It's a great question. I honestly don't know. Some of the whispers or rumors out there, buzz out there that he is definitely going there, that it sounds like it's just finalizing as far as that process goes. I don't know that if they're waiting to announce a staff like jointly, if they want to put the pieces together and then formally announce it, or if there's been some paperwork, some money negotiations.
Yeah, that's true. It might just be that he has to officially sign before they can. Are you talking about West Virginia or Illinois?
I'm talking about West Virginia announcing Chester Frazier.
So it might be that he just has to officially sign everything maybe before they can say.
I know I had somebody that I had boots on the ground. Now this wasn't me sending somebody and hiring like private investigator. Just so happened to be that one of my buddies was in Morgantown over the weekend and saw Chester Frazier on campus there. So
did he really?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that Chester is going there, and that is just a matter of time. Obviously, he's not going to be here. Like the buzz is out on that.
How did that dialogue go? Did you get a text and you're like, "Hey, dude, Chester Frazier's in Morgantown"?
Someone told me I don't want to reveal him, but
he
texted me last night.
He or she.
He texted me last night, and I had heard it from somebody else even a few days prior that hey, there's talk that Chester's there actually right now. So. He is leaving for sure.
Okay.
That he's going to West Virginia to. Why am I forgetting DeVries' first name?
Oh, is it Mark?
Darian
that's
DeVries.
Right. It is kind
and
of
it's Tucker DeVries, right? His son,
Yes.
who's a really nice addition for them out of Drake. So he will be joining that staff. The thing is, from Illinois' standpoint, the way that we've approached it at Illini Inquirer, we kind of have waited for that news to come from West Virginia. I think Illinois, and they, as far as I understand it, have their ducks in a row in terms of as soon as that comes out that they'll have an official comment or whatnot. But I think it's in respect of Chester to let that play out on his end and West Virginia's end before there's any official news breaking on that.
Do you know how I know that I'm a good friend?
How's that?
Is that there have been times where you've told Kyle and I something, and maybe a day or two later, some Twitter handle I've never heard of in my life is like, hey, Chester's going to... And I'm like, yeah, I knew that 2 days ago. But I didn't say anything.
Right.
Because I'm one hell of a friend. I'm trustworthy.
I agree.
So anybody out there that wants to, tell me secrets...
Now, they're not coming through Lon's official Twitter. Does he have a burner account? That's a different question. Maybe he does.
Multiple.
Are you Trilly Donovan?
No, I'm not.
Are you aware of who Trilly Donovan is?
I do know who that is, yes. Okay. In fact, didn't you communicate with him once?
I've communicated with Trilly a few times, yeah.
Now, I'm a good friend. I'm maybe a poor father because I told my boys that you sometimes communicate with him, and it blew Lucas's mind. And then Andrew was like, who's that? And Lucas got on him like, really, Andrew?
Yeah.
All right, okay, so my hot take like 6 months ago was that Jaden Shute will eventually end up in an Illini uniform. And last night he entered the transfer portal. Is he someone, number one, do we have room for him? Now that we've added Jake Davis, you got Luke Goody coming back. Now, Jaden would have 3 years?
Yes, redshirted this past year.
So I guess my question to you would be, is he someone that Illinois would try to bring to campus?
I don't think so as it stands right now. We'll see. Maybe they'll take your advice. And he's a very good shooter.
You just can't have as many. You can't have enough shooters.
You can't have too many. I did really, really like him, and so did Illinois out of high school when he was a prospect, and just was a bit of a game changer when John Shire made him like not only a guy they offered, but someone they pushed for and prioritized. But he didn't play there. And I know that this year I had kind of forgotten that it was an injury in the fall that took him into redshirting this year, and who would have known what that season would have looked like? But I've heard that he wasn't really thought to be a a big contributor this past year either, and there have been some questions about his defense, and that's one thing that I wonder about. But I think that it'll be interesting to follow him. And that goes back to your original. I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but that goes back to what you were saying in the first segment. Like, imagine if Amani played at, I don't know, not Xavier, but like Cincinnati or someone in the like South Florida. What if at South Florida he put up 10-8 as a freshman and then hit the portal? Like what would his prospects look like? What would his NIL look like and that whole kind of thing?
Be better than now.
What if Jaden Schutt was at Indiana State? Could you envision him on one of those?
It's a great call.
Bomb it offenses that shoots a lot of threes. It's really high scoring. And what if he was a 40% 3-point shooter at Indiana State and then decided to go in the portal? Like,
yep.
It could be a lot different. So there are just a lot of unknowns with Jaden on how he's going to translate to his next spot because we haven't seen him. So,
and the defensive part of it, look, Luke Goody is a hustle guy. Luke rebounds really well, I think, for how he's built. I mean, I know he's 6'7", but Luke is a fighter, right? I mean, he wants that ball, and he goes to get it. But there are certainly times where he is a liability on the defensive end. I don't think there's any doubt
100%.
about that. And the problem is you can't throw on the court Jake Davis, Luke Goody, and Jaden Schutt. It's like, well, who's guarding somebody on the other end, right? They're going to do everything they can. I mean, they're going to battle as hard as they can. And Luke certainly for spurts goes in and does fine. And you don't even really notice him, but then there's other spurts where it's like, okay, they're picking on him now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's well, we either have to make the decision, do we get him out? Is it worth having his offense on the other end? You just can't have too many of those guys. Just like the other way, you can't have too many guys that only play defense. The Sincere Harris, the Ty Rodgers. I know Ty does other things, don't get me wrong. But the guy that's limited offensively, you can't throw a bunch of those guys on the court either.
Yep.
So there's just that happy medium. And what my fear, I guess, now is that while Luke Goody only has one more year left, that's if you had Jaden Schutt on this team, now you'd be burning another year. So now you only got 2 years left. And I don't know how he compares with Jake Davis in terms of defense. I know I've read, I think from your article, that Davis is a guy, he even said, I want to get better in one-on-one defense, but he's got a little bit of size to him that he can hold, probably bigger than Jaden Schutt. So it's one of those where it's like, it's not that Illinois probably wouldn't love to have him. I just don't know that he's the guy you need.
Right, yeah, and in terms of spots, you can make it work because as of right now, there's 4 open spots.
Well, sure.
Kerry Booth, if he commits, that would be 3. You still want a big alpha wing that you bring in. That's maybe your number one option offensively, potentially. Another guard like a Dante Maddox would be great, and a 5-man. So that maybe satisfies some of those other positions.
Good call.
But, yeah, I think that Schutt would be an option at guard. You could convince me that it'd be worth taking. I wouldn't push back against it. I do think that, with Luke Goody and Jake Davis, that's interesting. Like Davis is more of a forward who's probably might play a decent amount of 4, especially in terms of who he can guard or who he's going to try to guard, 3/4. He does need to work on his body some. Luke, of course, as we know, a 3, sometimes maybe a smaller 4, and that whole kind of thing. But admittedly, part of my hesitation with Schutt is that just the relationship with the Illinois Wolves, the AAU program that he comes from, and Illinois has not gotten an Illinois Wolves guy in a long time, and it just doesn't seem like that is on the best of footing right now. Where Illinois has
I'm
been.
so glad we don't talk about that crap anymore.
I know, right?
I'm so glad
you don't have to worry too much about it because there's so many guys you can get instead.
I know you have to live in that end of the water sometimes, but. I was so tired of
boy.
We got a good relationship with the Wolves. Oh, crap, they hate us now. Oh, wait, Peach, or what's
the
another one?
River Fire.
Yeah.
We're in deep with them, but Mean Streets and Wolves won't return our calls.
Oh, but this guy's not coming here because Iowa's coming here, and now he's going to Iowa State, and that's because they don't like you, the AAU. And you're just like, it all just
snub
like
THT, you'll never get another player out of Whitney Young or wherever it was.
It all just like
Simeon, I should say. Simeon.
Like I felt dirty talking about it. I'm just glad we don't talk about that stuff much anymore.
No,
and
I
I'm
know.
not blaming you. I
I
mean,
know.
that was what we had to talk about then.
I mean, it was real. It was real stuff. It was just, yeah. Anywho,
That's so true.
But I think shoot at Iowa makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think that Purdue, you could convince me into that. Like Painter does a really good job of scheming up guys running off the screens and a really good half-court offense that can free him up for shots. And he could be in that backcourt mix with Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith. DePaul, of course, Brian Mullins being there.
Oh, that's right.
Get the Wolves connection with Brian being Mike's son. So I think, you know who should want him? Indiana.
Yeah, they need a shooter. They need multiple shooters.
Yeah.
You're correct. You are correct on that.
Now, as Kyle said it eloquently yesterday, that he probably shoots the three too well to go to Indiana, which I cannot. I mean, I've seen it enough years that I believe it. Like, it was Archie Miller's entire tenure there. They didn't shoot the three well at all.
It's weird.
And ever since Mike Woodson's been there, but just how we thought of Indiana and the idea that you're in that state and you can't get shooters or you don't want to get shooters, whatever it is, combination of both is mind-blowing.
They always had shooters. Always. And, yeah, to all of a sudden not is just – you're right. It's really weird. Big Def said, not that I want Jaden Shoot, but doesn't he have the raw athleticism to improve on defense on the wing with some want to? Well, I think Luke Goody shows a lot of want to, but sometimes he doesn't get to. I don't know what the next word would be there.
He's a good vertical athlete. Like, I remember in high school, he told me that he had like a 38 or 40-inch vertical, and this wasn't a guy exaggerating what he could do. He could play above the rim. Straight line drive and bounce, like, has that for sure. It's some of the lateral stuff that defending in space and those type of things. Like, he's only played 1 year of college basketball, so we can't forget that some of these guys can develop. Like,
absolutely.
And can get better and whatnot. So,
well, I want him.
I don't blame you.
I want Jaden Shoot on this team.
I don't blame you.
Number one, so my hot take.
You want me to? I'm going to see Brad tonight at the Coaches versus Cancer over in Gordyville. I'll let you know that you put the word in.
I got to ask you this. What's the first question for Bill Raftery tonight?
That's a good question.
What did you get? When did you begin to say man-to-man every time? And why? That might be...
Sure.
I honestly, that would be something I'd want to know. Like, when did you start doing that? And now it's a shtick, obviously. You know, the onions.
I'd probably want to ask about onions.
What I love about him...
I'd probably do the Jack Buck and be like, so Bill, the onions.
Onions? I mean, I agree with that. And he's always that guy that plays, he's the play on words kind of guy, right? Some guy is named, I don't know. I can't even think. But he's always so good at, like, playing off some guy's name to, like the guy's name is Devin Mark, and then Raftery, he'll hit a shot. He's like, oh, mark it down, and you're just like, oh, right. Like I should have thought of that.
Yep.
But the man-to-man, like, and now he says it so quick. Like, if you were new to college basketball and didn't really know who Bill Raftery is, you'd be like, I don't know what he just said. And he's almost added things to it, like, well, Jim Nance, Grant Hill, and you're just like, I don't know what he just said there, but I think I know man-to-man was part of it. I just love that dude. Like,
I do too. One of my favorites.
I have been in this business for 30 years, and I have met some of the greats. Harry Carey, Jack Buck, go on down the line. Phil Mickelson, I would just go down the line. I've met so many great athletes, announcers. I would be wowed tonight to meet Bill Raftery. I would literally be the guy that going, I would be, although I would have so much fun interviewing him. It would be so awesome to just talk to him and because he just seems like the most genuinely nice, devoted to basketball kind of guy there is. And that's why that's why everybody loves him. Mm-hmm. They love him. If you hear Raf on a call, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm sitting down for this one. We're watching this one. You're in a bar and you're like, can you put the sound on? I know you got it on the Illinois game, but can you put it on this random Temple Xavier game because Raftery's calling it? I cannot wait. Yeah. Just ask Bill if the puppies are organized and walk away.
He has the lingerie on the deck too.
Oh yeah. I'm just jealous right now that you're going to be able to talk to Raph tonight.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm really excited about that.
And then Greg Campy, you can ask him about the women's ball they used.
It's true. It's true.
Not them, but Illinois when they played Oakland years ago.
You should tell you should tell Campy to get Trey Townsend to Champaign.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
He's in the portal.
You think he would fit still? Can you take him and Kerry Booth?
Describe his game.
He's like a 4 that plays in the post.
Okay.
Booty ball.
Brad Underwood probably is having that conversation tonight. Like, booty ball all day with him.
I have seen he visited Michigan start of, was that last week or into the weekend? He has Arizona coming up, Louisville coming up. The money that
Why would Tom Izzo not go get him? I mean, come on, man.
They reached out, but the fact that they don't have a visit, unless they're going to be the last one.
Interesting.
Izzo, if I was a Michigan State fan, I would be just beside myself.
Aren't you ready kind of to move? I mean, again, you guys all know my thoughts. I mean, he's made so much money in his life and done so well. He's been successful. He's won. And to me, it's more about – no, I'm sorry. It is about the money. But the success, he won a national title. He had that stretch of every guy that went to Michigan State played in the Final Four for like 20 straight years. Dude, you've done everything you need to do. You've done everything you need to do. Go enjoy life. Get away from the stress of people criticizing you for everything and having to answer questions about how you don't use the portal. I mean, don't be the stubborn old man. Just move along. And I'm sure fine. Michigan State fans would probably be happy with that.
Sure.
As much of a legend as he is.
Either do that or just embrace the portal
or adjust
a little bit.
Yeah, right. Just a little. Like
you're Tom Izzo. You're Michigan State. Right. You should have a lot of appeal just based on that.
You're getting in any door you want for the most part.
Ask Magic Johnson for some dough. For your NIL fund. Like, this should not be hard.
No.
He had the foundation with Tyson Walker and A.J. Hoke. He had the guards last year. Malik Hall had a good year.
Yes, he
They would have had a 5. They would have been really, really good.
Yep.
And you know what's ironic and hilarious is that one of his reasons for not getting a 5-man was because he was loyal to Matty Sissoko and didn't want to recruit over some guys. Sissoko's in the portal right now.
Yeah, Tom, nobody's going to be loyal to you anymore.
I mean,
nobody's loyal anymore.
He was not of...
No,
if
he was
you're
horrible.
grading the top 5, the top centers in the Big Ten, he's nowhere close to the top 5.
Hands of stone. Is Walker finally gone?
Yes.
Can I ask one last question? Because I've got to go to a game again.
Yep.
If I won tomorrow $1 billion in the lottery, and at the end of the day I'm worth $650 million, and I said to SIU and Illinois both, I'm going to give each of you $5 million a year for NIL. Is there a limit that somebody can give?
No.
Okay. So if I went to Brad and said, I'm giving you $50 million this year to go win a national championship, I could do that every year.
You could.
I could just take the investment of the money I've invested every year, just whatever I get from the investment.
Yep.
I don't even have to get into the heart of the money. I can just take the investment every year and give that to Brad or SIU. I'd probably give it to Southern and watch SIU become Gonzaga.
That'd be pretty sweet.
That would be kind of
I've
cool.
got the way to reload your money, too.
Oh.
So you're going to give $50 million to Brad Underwood for NIL. Then you're going to put $1 million in Illinois to win the national championship.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
So then
that's beautiful.
You cash in your money for them winning, and
I love that.
You just replenish your pocket.
Actually, what I would do is I would go to Illinois and Southern and say, here's $50 million each, but you can't use it for 5 years. You have to invest in this money. Then, in 5 years, you're going to have a nice chunk of change then to start using as much as you want. And if 1 year you need to use $18 million of that, do it. If 1 year you only need to use $2 million.
Yeah.
So anybody, I mean,
if Shad Khan wanted to say you have a blank check,
yeah,
he could do it.
And there's no limit on that.
No, there's no salary cap. There's no limit.
I've always wondered that, and I've always forgotten. I figured that would be the answer, but I've always forgotten to ask you that question. So it's just crazy to me. Like, you think of, like, is it T. Boone or no? Who was the dude for it? Well, who's the Nike guy? Phil Knight for Oregon. Yeah. Right? I mean, that guy could give endless amounts of money to Oregon to just go and be the best football, basketball. They're already track and field, I think. and just go dominate in whatever sport you wanted to. But the perfect example is Shad Khan. That's the perfect example.
And I've always wondered how much, if there is involvement from the Khan family in Illinois' NIL. I don't know.
I feel like this is my opinion only. I feel like Josh Whitman has done his best.
Sure.
If there was a fracture, to repair as much as possible with that. But, yeah, I mean, he's one of the top 50 richest people in the world.
Yeah. And, of course, he has the Jaguars, and they have the AEW or whatever it's called. But
That's true. Scott says he might be dead in 5 years. Is he talking about me?
I don't know who he's talking about.
In other words,
you talking about NIL? You talking about...
Is he saying like that I would give him 5 years, like he can't do anything for 5 years, and then when they win a national title in 6 years and I'm no longer around to see it? I get that point. Or is he talking about Tom Izzo? That's terrible. Well, have fun with Raph tonight.
We will. Appreciate that.
Brad's probably already had a couple.
You never know.
They have a lot of fun at this.
I will say, we got to catch a break. We're late here, but Tim Miles rolled in with a buzz one year, and the stories were that he stayed up all night playing poker and drinking, then went and played golf and drank, and then showed up at this. And not that he wore it like he was slurring or anything. You could just tell he was having a good time. I don't know if I was supposed to share that.
He hit the old Penfield bars.
That's right. Tim Miles is coaching out in California somewhere, San Jose State.
He's kind of more of my idol now.
Yeah, Coors Light. He was slamming those. So
let's go.
All right, we're sending you out of here. We'll be back. We're gonna play some Brett Bielema at some point. Also, Johnny Newton's pro day was today, and we still haven't talked about Omar Ballo going to Indiana. All that coming up next. This is The Drive.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
But argues the circumstances surrounding the riot cases haven't occurred before.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. The impeachment articles against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas are now before senators who will be sworn in as jurors tomorrow when Democrats could try to dismiss the trial.
Senate Republicans vow to stop all Senate action unless the Senate completes the trial. It's about the math. It only takes 51 votes to dismiss.
Fox's Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. America is listening to Fox News.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
The House Speaker's new plan to split a foreign aid package into separate bills for Israel, Ukraine, and other issues is winning support from some key House committee chairs. But an effort to remove him is also gaining support, and he's pushing back.
I am not resigning.
A defiant House Speaker Mike Johnson after Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie signed on as a co-sponsor to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate the Speaker. Massie believes the Speaker's days are numbered.
If it is called, there will be a lot of people who vote for it.
Massie says he's frustrated with how Johnson has handled government funding, the reauthorization of a foreign warrantless surveillance program, and his efforts this week to pass foreign aid. Some Republicans have come out strongly against the motion to vacate, saying it will only benefit Democrats.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz on the Hill. The British Prime Minister's plan to stop young people from ever smoking clears a first hurdle in Parliament. Selling tobacco products to anyone born after January 1st, 2009 would be illegal. Critics say that would treat future adults like children. A wide range of entertainers heads into the U.S. government's history books.
There is a new class entering the National Recording Registry that includes Blondie's 1978 breakthrough album Parallel Lines, ABBA's 1976 Visitors, and the Notorious B.I.G.'s album Ready to Die. New inductees into the American Audio Record include Gene Autry's 1949 version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Carla Hayden, the Librarian of Congress, announced 25 titles, saying in a statement they are worthy of preservation for all time based on their cultural, historical, or aesthetic importance. Other titles include Green Day's 1994 album Dookie and The Chicks' 1998 Wide Open Spaces. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
A mixed day for stocks. The Dow up about 64 points. The S&P and the Nasdaq finished in the red. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for Central Champaign and Banvis. Today, a windy and warm day's worth of weather ahead with a couple of showers and thunderstorms breaking out as the later morning progresses. More so, the activity in the position for this afternoon might be on the cusp and edge of a weather watch. High temperature today, 78 to 83 degrees. Warmest south and southwest of Champaign County, and a south wind 15 to 25 and gusty. In between, a partly sunny sky anticipated. Windy, mild tonight with some showers and thunderstorms around early. There'll be a lesser chance after midnight. Maybe a couple strong storms early on tonight with a low down to 65. Tomorrow, quite windy, mild shower thunderstorm chance for the morning. Partly sunny and 72. That southwest wind gusting at 45 miles per hour. Down to 49 tomorrow night, and a gusty west wind diminishing for the day on Thursday. Clouding up, afternoon and evening shower activity. The high near 70. That moves out early on Friday. Back to cooler weather there. 60 the high. 50s for the weekend, but sunshine returns. Warm up into next week. Monday and Tuesday highs in the lower 60s. Maybe a frost patch here Monday morning. For Stevie J Broadcasting, Abby Rolchis, Greg Soldier.
It is The Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. We mentioned it last hour. I know this is last minute, but anybody out there right now, I'm assuming maybe even tickets are sold out, so maybe I shouldn't. But Coaches versus Cancer tonight, they're at Gordyville, which is in Gifford. Bill Raftery. You also have Bo Borowski, former official.
Is that right?
Bo Borowski was I checked the media email today, and I skimmed through right past that last time, but I reread it today. Yes, Bill Raftery, Greg Campy, and Bo Borowski.
So Bo Borowski's like one of the featured guests that's going to be on the panel?
He is, yes.
Oh, my goodness. Is he sure he's going to be safe stepping foot around Champaign or what?
It's a good question. I think he'll be fine because he's not blowing any calls here recently, but not a very popular official.
Probably couldn't have come like 2 years ago when he was still officiating.
Right. Now, not that any official could get that thing done. Courtney Green definitely isn't getting invited. I've heard that Brad...
That one ref that teed Brad up against Nebraska this year is never getting an invite, I'll tell you that
yeah,
much.
No doubt. No doubt. I've heard that Brad always... It might be lesser of some evils here, but always liked Borowski and getting him on a game. Thought that he controlled the game well in terms of managing the coaches, keeping them informed on calls, and actually having a conversation. Because I think coaches get upset when, after a call, they want to come over, they want to wave a guy over and chat him up about a call. There are some that have a real edge and ego to them that will not talk to coaches, that will be quick trigger with technicals. And it didn't seem like Borowski was one of those guys. Now, I always said that Borowski was someone that if he was on the call, for one, I would not be happy. If I was a fan, just a fan of the game, I didn't think he was very good. But then again, I don't think Kelly Pfeiffer's good. I don't think a lot of these guys are good. Courtney Green's terrible.
And he was somehow in the Elite Eight officiating. I mean, really?
Green?
Yeah. I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
I don't know.
What has he done to earn that spot?
Maybe you and I need to go into refereeing, because the climb to the top might be there for the taking. You may not have to be very good to get at some of the
you definitely
really big
don't
games.
have to be very good.
Yeah, even the high knees Anderson guy, he was at I forget which Illinois game it was. Maybe it was the Iowa game when things got real called really tight in the second half. I'm like, man, this dude, I do not agree with the way he's officiating this thing. So, yeah, I agree. You don't have to maybe be fantastic in terms of job quality to get some of these games. But, all right. You want to talk Omar Ballo? Or you want to talk some of these texts here real quick?
Let's get to some of these texts.
All right. We'll stay Illinois specific. A 217 say, hear anything on Maddox's visit and how that's going or where we stand. Dante Maddox Jr., of course, is the guy that we're discussing here from Toledo. And he started an official visit yesterday at Illinois. We'll run through today. You had him visiting Louisville this past weekend, scheduled to go to Xavier, I believe, as early as tomorrow. So those 3 visits are set up and in line. The rest of his top 5 are Creighton and Michigan. He's been quoted as saying that he'd like to possibly visit even all 5 before making a decision. I don't know that he will actually do that, but it does seem right now the top 3 are these guys are these players that are getting him on campus for sure, and that being Louisville, Illinois, Xavier. I think Illinois views themselves as having a legit shot, and Tim Anderson has a good relationship with the family. As far as I understand it, they're definitely selling winning, especially as opposed to Louisville and trying to convince him that, hey, they're in a better position to come in your final year. We're coming off an Elite Eight. Yes, there are a lot of new pieces, but you fit really well with Kylan Boswell. We're going to go big game hunting on the wing and have some good pieces that can get us on a path to compete at the top of the Big Ten and go on another run where Louisville's got, although they're adding transfers left and right and have a lot of NIL money to do so, that it will be maybe tougher for Pat Kelsey in year 1. So that's what they're trying to send as far as a message and have that hit home with him. And speaking of home, he's from the state. His dad's coached at Bloom Township up near the Chicagoland area since 2015. So I haven't heard a ton new, admittedly, as far as that goes. I would say my latest feel on that is that Louisville and their NIL bag, so to speak, that they have is probably the biggest thing to worry about. And I would probably lean Louisville right now, even though they did just add a guard today in Javon Hadley from Colorado. 6'6", though, where Dante's 6'2". They have Hadley from Colorado, averaged 11.5 points, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists this past year with the Buffs. And you have Terrence Edwards Jr., who they got earlier in the offseason.
I know Kelsey brought a guard with him from Charleston as well.
Is that right? Terrence Edwards, 6'6", 190, 17 a game. It seems like, from what I've heard, he got big money. The guy from James Madison and even the Colorado player here that Hadley, pretty penny to bring him. It seems like Louisville just has a ridiculous amount of NIL funds right now, and I think Illinois is a little bit concerned about that if he wants to take advantage of what's on the table for him with the Cardinals.
Yeah, the 2 things that give me optimism about him are the 2 things you hit on. One, this is a fifth-year COVID senior who has 1 year left, one last ride in college basketball. Illinois can sell him more on winning next year. Now, I know, honestly, Illinois has had so much turnover and Louisville's adding so many transfers that I guess you could kind of say, well, Louisville could probably be pretty decent next year. This isn't Kenny Payne here anymore. If they go out and spend their huge NIL budget and just keep throwing a transfer all-star team together, they could win. But Illinois has proven it recently. This is a Louisville program that's been a disaster the last 3 years. So theoretically, Illinois can give him a far greater assurance of competing, whether that's just making the NCAA tournament or competing at the top of a conference, than Louisville can. And then, 2, him being from the state. I think that does hold some value for a lot of these guys, especially for somebody who, not to say that Toledo is all that far, but guy's been at Toledo for 2 years, and then he was at Cal State Fullerton was his first 2, or Cal State something.
Cal State Fullerton and then Toledo. Yep, you're right.
So I think that some of these guys, you get 1 free year of college basketball, being close to home, being somewhere where your family can come see you play, that's a real factor, especially if it is kind of a toss-up recruitment where maybe you go back and forth and you like 2 different spots. That home factor can definitely play a part. And again, Louisville's not super far. It's not California again, but I think being in-state could end up being a sort of a tipping point. At the same time, it's NIL. Like, NIL is probably the true tiebreaker in a lot of these. So if Louisville truly does have the biggest NIL offer on the table, and that's what he ends up going with, you can't blame him. And that definitely is a concern. If that's what it appears to be, if Louisville can be more aggressive than Illinois can for him money-wise, then that's always probably going to win out.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I will say that something that I learned throughout the season, as far as what I heard, was that you might hope this. And I don't know how big of the difference is. Like, Illinois has NIL. Like, they're not, claiming to be poor by any means as far as this goes. I wonder what the number is. The difference of $100,000 is the difference of $200,000 of what Louisville's going to give versus what Illinois would give with their offer. I think that, admittedly, when Maddox first went into the portal, some of the talk, and I was just taking a first glance at him, didn't know much about him as a player. Would he be just coming in as like Justin Harmon, and a juiced up version of Justin Harmon? Would he be off the bench? Would he be a sixth man? That type of thing. I think that Alfonso Plummer was kind of recruited as that. Now that I ultimately became a starter as well, but in watching him more and hearing more about how Illinois views, I have no doubt they think that he would slot perfectly right in next to Boswell in their starting backcourt. So I don't worry about him in terms of opportunity. And I think that the more I've watched Boswell, I don't know that he's a ball in the hand every possession type of guy. I think that you can actually tell Maddox you probably liked having more on-ball chances at Toledo this past year with Ray J. Dennis gone. You can do that at Illinois because Boswell's good off the ball as a shooter, and similar, he can have the ball in his hands, and you can be that spot-up guy, run you off of screens type of thing. So I think Illinois checks that box as well. But what I was getting at is that Quincy Guerrier, I had heard, had a significantly higher NIL price if he would have went to an SEC school. I think 2 SEC schools had bigger offers on the table for him, but he ultimately chose Illinois because he had a relationship with the staff, which is different because they recruited him 2 other times, but also wanted to win, and maybe that winning will outweigh the money ultimately. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I would love to have him. To have a knockdown shooter like him in the backcourt, I think, is what Illinois is going to need, assuming that probably whoever you add on the wing is, we don't even know who that's going to be at this point.
Might not even be somebody that's in the portal right now.
Sure, yeah, there's plenty of time left. So it's hard to say what that player might look like, and then you look in the front court and you look with Ty Rodgers coming back, like this team needs shooting and reliable shooting that's going to be in their starting lineup that you can trust in the backcourt. So I think he would be a great addition, and just watching a little bit of him, his range is incredible. Mm-hmm. He's making like NBA threes consistently. I know it's a highlight tape. I've watched the highlight tape and they all go in for him, but there was like
but look at his percentages, like a lot of them go in.
15 different NBA range threes that he was knocking down last year, so he can really shoot it. He can shoot it off movement too. You can run some actions for him, just designed specifically to get him looks from 3. I think he would be a perfect fit alongside Boswell in the backcourt, and I think they could play well off each other.
Yeah, and I was impressed, admittedly, watching some of the highlights, and I will get to some more game film, especially if he ends up coming here as well. But even if you look at some of the passes he made when he was on the ball with some of his metrics, like his usage rate went up a lot with the ball in his hands more with Dennis gone. His turnover rate on KenPom actually went down. So as somebody that was asked to do more from a facilitating standpoint or just on-ball creator, you would think if he really wasn't capable of being in that role, yes, it's at the MAC level versus at the Big Ten, but his turnovers didn't just spike. It actually, the rate of turnovers per usage actually went down. So I think that he can do some things in pick and roll or pushing in transition at the very least if you add him, and obviously Boswell can do some of that as in addition too. So
you can never have too many ball handlers. I know that's it's funny to say that coming off last year when you didn't know if you had any ball handlers, but really you can never have too many guys that can handle the ball, that can create, that you can trust with the ball in their hands. And it would be nice to have kind of a two-headed monster there in the backcourt coming off a year where you didn't have a true point guard and you kind of had to force Domask into that role, which he did great, and you designed an offense around what he was able to do well. But I think that would be a backcourt you could get really excited about.
Before we move on, 217 asked on the U of I Atlantic Link text line, do you think UConn's recruiting blueprint is similar to the Illini? It's a good question.
Not really, right, though, because they still have built from the high school ranks pretty heavily.
They've done both. Like Klingon was from the high school rank. They've gone high-end high school players like Stefan Castle, obviously going to be a lottery pick, expected to be this upcoming year.
Their first title team 2 years ago, their top 3 players were high school guys that I believe they recruited. Sanogo, Jordan Hawkins, and Andre Jackson.
Yes.
Those were all high school recruits that went straight to UConn, I think.
I believe that's correct, yep. And they supplemented with transfers like who was the Calcaterra was the shooter off the bench. Of course, Tristan Newton is the big splash.
Yeah. Him and Cam Spencer this year were both transfers, and they were the pretty clear two. Well, no, Klingon was, I was going to say 2 best players, but 2 of the 3 best players.
Right. No, I think that they are similar probably in terms of like the way they want to ideally do it. Like I think here recently, like if Amani, if the staff truly believed Amani was a building block piece, fit very well with Merez, who they believe is a building block piece, then I think that it's a entirely different conversation. You're not probably recruiting Kerry Booth, and if you are, maybe you're recruiting him to be a backup to him, which obviously you're not probably in his position to land his commitment. So I think that there are differences to your point, especially in terms of the roster build this past year, with even your stud who was here for 2 years, and Terrence Shannon was collected via the portal as well. But UConn does like to go in the portal, obviously. Tristan Newton was probably what different players, but what Illinois had in mind with like a Ray J. Dennis of being able to go out there and get from a lower level, mid-major level, because Newton came from ECU. Ray J. obviously from Toledo, but Illinois struck out as far as that goes. So I do think it's fair to point out they have done more damage in the high school ranks that have translated. Like Illinois has had some good ranked classes, like the Sky Clark, Ty Rogers, Jaden Epps, Sincere Harris class was a top 15 class nationally. It's just none of those guys. Well, Ty Rogers is the only guy left from that group. So there is that difference, but
I guess the other thing, too, is that UConn does not have a bunch of guys transfer out. And that's kind of what's allowed them to maybe have some – and it's a product of they've recruited higher-level talent out of high school.
Yeah.
And so they've been able to play them more early in their careers, develop them more, keep them around. But I think that's kind of the other part of what's made UConn so dominant is that when they get somebody, those guys are sticking around – and buying in, and
at least the guys they want.
The guys
stay,
they
right?
want, yeah. And you could say the same about Illinois, I think. For
the
most part,
I agree.
It's just you see more guys
maybe outside
leaving.
of Jaden.
Yeah.
Even though there were fractions in the relationship there at the very end, but yeah, no, that's a fair point. I do think another thing, and I've hit on this a handful of times with you already. We don't have to go all the way down the rabbit hole with it, but UConn still, between Sanogo and between Klingon, making it a priority to get big guys. Like, not necessarily, not to say that Illinois isn't, because they're bringing in Merez, so maybe I'm answering my own question here, but like Sanogo was a little bit smaller, like in terms of height. He was not a 7-footer. What was he, like 6'9", maybe? But a really ferocious rebounder and good finisher around the basket, a guy you can throw it into.
Don't tell me Merez Johnson isn't going to dominate at center when
you're right.
National title winning center was 6'9". I'm just saying.
You're right. But I wonder if they want, and I think they do. I think they do want a rim protector to go with Merez. I think Merez can develop into that as his career goes along, but I think that they maybe want a 7-footer. Not saying he's going to be Donovan Klingon. There are those guys between him and Edey don't grow on trees, but on that note,
Donovan Klingon was 7'2" also. I think he was like a true 7'2". That's it's rare to find those guys that are able to move as fluidly as he is at his size and just wreck a game. It would be nice. Even Kofi, like, for as good as Kofi was, and he was dominant offensively, he was exploitable on the defensive end. And was never really a high-level shot blocker. I think the one time that I would be okay with Illinois kind of building that way is if you get that unicorn type, which is just a complete game changer with the combination of size and rim protection and Illinois hasn't necessarily had that guy in a long time, and that's what I think separates the Edys and the Klingons from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. As far as 7-footers go, in terms of building, or part of the building block being a big-time 5-man, Omar Ballo transferred from Arizona, utilizing his COVID year. I believe that's correct. He played a year at Gonzaga, 3 years at Arizona, and now he has committed to play at Indiana. Jeff Goodman had a tweet earlier today. Now, he clarified, and I wonder if he maybe got a text from somebody that said, hey, don't put that out there that we paid that much, but that he had heard from coaches that the asking price on Ballo was $1.2 million. I had heard that from someone else as well. I don't know that Indiana gave him all of $1.2 million, but have heard some mutterings as far as Indiana goes that those people that really, the boosters that were very much in support of Mike Woodson coming back, and there had to be that for him not to have gotten fired, that those people said, we're going to really buck up in NIL in a must-win year, and you don't worry about how much it costs. You go out and make stuff happen. So it seems like Indiana is rolling in the dough, I think, in terms of NIL, and Ballo is an addition now that they're going to put back in their front court with Renew, and probably means Mbako at the 3 again. And are they going to have enough guard play? Are they going to have enough shooting? That is in question still, Kyle. So Omar Ballo, who put up 13 and 10 last year, has the ability to be a rim protector as well. Played on some good Arizona teams. What do you make of his addition to the Big Ten and to Indiana?
Indiana has brought in the most talent of any program in the Big Ten since Woodson has taken over. I think that's fair to say, probably. When you look at him getting Hood Schifino there, was that his first year? His second year? He got Hood Schifino there with Trace Jackson Davis holding over, obviously. And then last year, obviously, to get Khalil Ware out of the portal and to bring in Mbako. Now this year you get another 5-star wing. You go to the portal, get the number 1 rated center in the portal in Ballo. You get a point guard who is rated highly. He's bringing talent there. I just question if his method of building a roster can win nowadays, because it didn't last year. Last year's team was really talented with good players on it, and the guard play just held the team back. The lack of shooting held the team back. There's no doubt that a front court of Malik Renew and Khalil Ware was probably the best in the conference outside of Edey and whoever Purdue played next to Edey. But there's only so much you can do with a team that is so offensively limited on the perimeter. I think this one can be better, though, because I do think getting Miles Rice from Washington State is a reliable point guard. While he didn't shoot it great last year, I think he's probably a better shooter than his overall percentage was. Much like kind of Kerry Booth, how we project him, if Illinois is able to get him, I project him to be much better than 29% in his second year of college. I would say Rice would probably be better than that next year. But also just the fact that Xavier Johnson was such a disaster last year, I think getting a guard you can actually trust now will make a difference for them. I think Indiana, I still, on paper, their talent says that they should be like a national title contender. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen for them, because I just don't know if you can win with that front court. But I think they've positioned themselves to keep Mike Woodson's job. I think he's gone out and he's shown that he can go get talent. And I think they'll be improved this year. They need to add a shooter. They need to add a knockdown shooter, whether that's on the wing, whether that's at the shooting guard spot. If they add a knockdown shooter to close out their portal class, I probably will have to tip my cap and say I'm a little worried about the Hoosiers next year.
Yeah, Miles Rice last year as a freshman, 15 a game, 4 assists. He did only shoot 28% from 3, so you have that concern, and then really that's the broken record for Indiana, is that, yeah, but the shooting is not there. Cannon Carlisle, who they're also still recruiting out of Stanford, he was a freshman last year as well, 11.5 points, 3 assists, 32% from 3. And, yes, they had I'm trying to pull up. Bryson Tucker is the top 30 freshman who they're bringing in. I believe, did he play Overtime Elite? I don't know if or maybe that was the guy that, I think I'm confusing a couple of different guys, but he was a McDonald's All-American type. But one of the things when you read into some of his scouting reports is it doesn't have the best jump shot from the perimeter. That's one thing that he needs to work on.
Welcome to Indiana.
Welcome to Indiana is right. Still have Trey Galloway back. Nice player.
He didn't make any shots last year.
Really had a big dip in terms of his shooting because it was a limited sample size in comparison when you go back a year to the 22-23 season with Trace, with Hood-Schifino. But he shot 46% from three that year, only on 65 attempts. This past year, he had 100 attempts, only made 26. So 26% from him. They're going to need a lot more out of that. I don't know that I mentioned Jaden Schutt as a guy that they should go after. With this NIL money, they could probably maybe aim higher for a more proven guy in terms of, maybe it's a mid-major guy that's taken more shots, had more of a role. But if they did get like a complimentary piece who's going to come in and make shots off the bench at the very least. And Mgbako, I'll give him that credit because he improved in Big Ten play. You look at Big Ten play, he shot 38% from beyond the arc. So that was something that he showed he could do. But one thing, Kyle, like Khalil Ware could at least step out and make a jump shot. Omar Ballo's not going to do that. So there is going to be a clogged lane for Malik Reneau. I don't know that Reneau is going to become much of an improved shooter. He took 45 threes last year and made 15.
If I'm Reneau sitting there right now, I'm entering the portal.
I'd be
what I'd do.
Be upset.
That's what I'd do. He had a good year last year, but he wasn't able to showcase himself to the best of his ability because he was playing alongside Khalil Ware, and it just was a roster that made life so difficult on him. I know he's in foul trouble all the time, and I guess that's the one thing that would hold you back from committing to him as playing center for you, is that he's such a foul trouble guy that can you trust him to be on the floor. But I wouldn't be happy if I was him getting Omar Ballo. Now, the one thing I will say about Ballo is he's not necessarily a guy who needs to have the ball all the time or is a center that you know you're going to have to play through because he's a guy that does a lot of his work off of pick and roll and off of offensive rebounding and just rim running. So in that sense, I think it probably works out more than a guy like Khalil Ware needed the ball to be successful last year. Not that he couldn't, make an impact on the defensive end, but that, I guess, fits a little better. But like you said, it's just floor spacing's the thing. Is can you space the floor enough to let those big guys have success, and can you make enough shots to make the defense go out and guard you on the perimeter and give those guys one-on-one matchups? I just question that. I'd have to see it. I'm excited in November to see, because this past November you could tell right away this isn't going to work. So it'll be another situation. Sure. I knew it. I predicted it preseason. I'm a little more optimistic about this roster, but I still am very skeptical about it. I know there's probably going to be a lot of preseason predictions that have Indiana winning the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking in that direction.
And I can't wait to not have that and see how that goes for me.
Yeah, talent-wise, if you just look at it on paper, you might say they're the best team. We'll see. There's a lot left to play out. I think Illinois obviously wants to have a say in that. Purdue has a chance to have a say in that. Wisconsin isn't in a terrible position either with all that they have coming back. So there's a lot left to play out, and we still have about 2 weeks to know all that is out there in terms of guys in the portal. And it is worth throwing this asterisk in there. If you're a grad transfer, you don't have to be in the portal by May 1st. You can be in the portal whenever you graduate. So that's another thing that we have to remember and keep in
Derek
mind.
Piper glued to his phone until June.
Yeah. I don't know, man. We'll see if I'm alive. Speaking of Scott saying that you don't know if you're going to be alive in 5 years, I don't know if I'm going to be alive in 5 weeks. We'll see. All right. I got to catch a break. Before we do that, got to do a little bit of work. Let me tell you about Busey and spring cleaning your finances. The season for spring cleaning is here, and while many may focus on organizing closets and scrubbing floors, Busey encourages you to clean up your finances too. Here are 7 steps to cut back on financial clutter. Evaluate and pay down debt. Take a look at how much you owe and what you need to pay in interest. Review your budget. A lot can change in a year. Determine areas where you can cut back. Check your credit report. Take advantage of a credit report consultation from Busey. Sign up for e-statements and paperless billing, keeping your house physically and financially organized. Set up automatic bill pay and never worry about a missed payment impacting your credit score. Consolidate your accounts, close accounts you rarely use. And lastly, download the Busey mobile app. Manage your finances anytime, anywhere. To get started on spring cleaning today with your expertise and innovation that Busey has to offer, you can go to Busey.com for all the resources, or you can stop by one of their many convenient locations. Busey, member FDIC.
Think you have to settle for mediocre car insurance to save money? Think again. It's possible to get superior coverage and still save money with Erie Insurance. Customers who switched to Erie saved up to $951. It pays to compare. Switch and save with Erie.
Your Erie agent in Champaign is Thomas & Ellers Insurance.
Annual savings based on new customers surveyed in March 2022 who reported savings when switching auto insurance. Individual premiums and savings will vary.
Since Busey Bank first opened our doors in 1868, we have built upon a tradition of close relationships and broad financial capabilities. Our experienced team provides the highest level of personalized service to ensure we accomplish your goals, simplifying your wealth management and business lending needs and ensuring a legacy for generations. Building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
At Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people with amazing service, great design advice, and unbeatable selection and the best prices in town. It's the perfect time to update your home with waterproof flooring, carpet, hardwood, tile, and more. Then complete your rooms by shopping our incredible selection of furniture and accessories. We also offer great financing options. Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people.
Introducing Logic Co-working, where productivity meets comfort. Elevate your work experience at the best co-worker facility in the area with state-of-the-art amenities, high-speed internet, and a vibrant community. Logic Co-working is your ideal workplace. Enjoy flexible plans, ergonomic workspaces, and collaborative environments. Your perfect workspace is waiting for you because at Logic Co-working, they're not just co-workers, they're collaborators. Visit logic.work for details.
Bring on spring. Get the light and delicious Greek pizza, topped with premium mozzarella, feta, new sliced Kalamata olives, diced tomatoes, mild peppers, and red onions. It's the best Detroit-style pizza around with a crispy, crunchy, cheesy crust to the edge. Hurry in and enjoy a large Greek Detroit-style pizza for $16.99. Code word Greek. Jets. Better because it has to be.
BMW, Buick, GMC, Honda, and Subaru. Welcome to Sarah Champagne. We can handle all your car repairs on site, including paintless dent repair, bumpers, windshields, everything in between. We have an amazing selection of new or pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Shop from home and buy online or reserve your vehicle before it hits our website or dealership. Sarah Champagne is home of the Sarah One Price Promise, delivering an honest and transparent buying experience. Hurry in or shop online at sarahchampagne.com.
Have you ever looked at a junk truck and said, man, that truck is pretty? Two men in a junk truck trucks are pretty. They're pretty big, so they can handle large jobs. They're pretty reliable. Two Men in a Truck has been recognized as a trusted leader in the moving industry for over 35 years. Now we are proud to offer that same reliability to junk removal, and they're pretty fast. When you're ready to let some things go and that you don't need, you don't want to wait 3 weeks. You want it gone now. Go to twomeninAjunkTruck.com and make room for what matters most.
Back on the drive with Zane Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Let's shift gears a little bit. We're talking hoops heavy most of the show, and we'll finish out with Brad Underwood. He actually met with Diane and Stevie on the air last week to really preview tonight's Coaches vs. Cancer event there at Gordyville. So want to replay that for those that didn't catch it when it was on in the morning last week. But before we do that, got to give some love to Johnny Newton. Had his pro day today here in Champaign. Shout out to Jeremy Warner and Joey Wagner, IlliniInquirer.com, who was there covering that. They have a interview scrum that we want to be able to get to you, his latest thoughts on his draft prospects. And
21 NFL teams are there.
It's a big deal. 21 NFL. He didn't go through the 40 time and that kind of testing, right? But did do some drills and was able to show out coming off of, what was his injury again? I should know this.
Foot something.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I should have done my research before offering that up. But yeah, he did not participate in the NFL Combine back in was that March?
Jones fracturing his foot.
Okay, Jones fracturing his foot. Still, I think projected as is he still on? I've admittedly haven't been scouring mock drafts.
I've seen him either sneak into the end of the first round or early second.
Okay.
Is kind of his consensus right now.
Interesting. Wonder how much, if any, today would have been able to move the needle. I'm sure that very obviously interested teams out there seeing what his current status is. And, man, the film this past year was fantastic. A guy that was of, All-American type caliber. So let's get you Johnny Newton, who spoke today in Champaign. This, again, courtesy of Atlanta Inquirer.
How'd you feel? I feel good, man. I felt good to be out. I've been watching since the combine, waiting for my time to come, so it finally came, and I feel good out there.
Did you meet your own expectations for it?
For sure. I've been going at it for only 2.5 weeks now, full speed, so to do what I did, I was really impressed with myself.
What did you want to show today, Johnny?
I just wanted to show that I could move. A lot of teams had doubts that I was fast, my lateral movement. I just wanted to display that today, show them that I'm still an RB.
You made the decision to go through more positional drills than measured drills. Like, what went into that choice?
Like I said, I only had 2.5 weeks of full speed training. I knew it'd be more important to show position work to the coaches than doing like a 40. They know I can move, and I'm pretty sure if I showed it my speed throughout these position drills, they could get a glimpse of what I got.
Have you been just dying to get in front of scouts because you've been waiting months just to show the NFL what you got?
Yeah, man, I can only talk for so long. Like, my lips were starting to get tired. I was just waiting for my legs to do all the work. So I've been waiting for this time to come for a hot minute.
How do you feel going into next week, Johnny, just throughout the whole process, feedback you and your agent are getting?
I feel pretty good. You never know until you know, of course, but the feedback I've been getting, it's always coming good. Just ready to see where I land.
Why do you think you should be a first-round draft pick?
I just feel like it's not a lot of guys that could play at the intensity, the speed that I play, and the domination that I bring to the game. I feel like that's rare definitely in college football.
What is it like, Johnny, when your draft peers are running in front of people and you're kind of relegated to watching? Like, how do you handle that? It seems like it wouldn't be the most fun thing to watch.
Mm-hmm. Man, it wasn't fun because I wanted to be out there myself, but I create relationships with everybody, so I was happy for all those guys, cheering them on, like, damn, you was moving. But the small things like that, like, I'm happy for everybody, I feel like we all can have success, and my success depends on me, so as long as I'm doing good, that's all that really matters.
John, where are you going to be for the draft, and who's going to be with you?
A lot of my family, we going back to Florida. In Orlando, got a little spot out there. I just wanted a lot of my family to be around me. Definitely the ones that I grew up with, stayed with, the ones who've been there for me throughout the process. So that's where I'm gonna be at.
Does it matter to you who picks you at all? Would you have a preference if somebody said you pick one of those teams or no?
Not really, honestly. As long as I'm able to play football, I feel like that's all that matters. It doesn't matter the scheme. I feel like I dominated in a 3-4 scheme. So 4-3-3-4, I feel like I could still be great with my play.
How much did this place mean to you? Just overall.
Yeah, they took me in. Guys like Coach Pat up there, just turn the camera on him. But that's one of the OGs, man. But it means a lot to me. Met a lot of great people here. Some of my brothers. My best friend, man, I love the city of Champaign, and it's done so much for me.
When you were Devin got picked last year, were you watching? Where were you at? And how would you feel when he got picked this early as he got picked?
So I was in the locker room watching.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought he was going to go one pick later, but he got picked at 5. I was like, damn, like the Seahawks was my favorite team growing up. Watching.
Did any part of you projected had this this weekend, this day, you know, when you watch the MDC, that's going to be me in here.
That never crossed my mind at that point in time. Like, I still can't wrap around the draft this next week. I live like a daily routine. Like, I think every day as a day. I plan ahead, but I never think ahead, if that makes sense.
Sure.
What would you tell scouts about Keith and Denzel? You saw him every day for years, several years with Keith.
Yeah, man. Can't leave out Bryce. That's Nestle Quick.
And Bryce, too.
Yeah. Nah, man. The off seasons with those guys, man. We used to go on walks all the time together, putting in extra work. Keith, I came up here last night. Like I told y'all in the beginning, like we used to just run into each other late nights. I think it was like around 8:30 p.m. I came in here, he was in here. Like, damn, like the good old days, like how I began. But Denzel, incredible story. If you ever get to know it, y'all be inspired by his story. And Bryce, man, from tight end to DN to defensive tackle, I feel like Bryce has so much to show, and if the world could see it, they'd be shocked.
Did you get to get a moment with your plaque and your banner that's hanging up in this place now?
Man, it's crazy. Just a part of my legacy being left here. I still haven't saw the one that's inside the stadium. I feel like that'd be pretty cool. Definitely gonna go see it before I leave. But every time I drive out there, I just gotta look to the left or look to the right, and then I'm just happy, man, that I stamp myself as one of the best to play for Illinois football.
You talked about it a little bit at the Combine, kind of came up in one of the questions earlier. How special would it be to team back up with Witherspoon?
Man, that would be crazy. Me and Dav, we bring the same energy to the game, the same love and passion to the game. He might be more loud with it, but we definitely always on the same page, always chasing the same goal. Two Florida boys just dominating the game and want to be the best at our position. So I feel like that'll be dream come true.
I talked to your parents a little bit about when you went through the coaching change and you deciding to stick it out through Illinois with Bielema. How grateful are you that you made that decision to stick it out here and play 4 years and ultimately set yourself up to live out your dream?
I love my decision. You know, I was always taught finish what I start. So no matter the coaching change, a lot of kids leave because they feel like they have to prove themselves to a new coaching staff. I like that as a challenge to show them how great I am, put in all the hard work, and then have the same outcome with a new coaching staff. I feel like that's a great thing. So I'm really happy that I did that and the success that came with it.
Here's another home improvement insight from Kramer Siding and Window, a proud member of Prairie Home Alliance. A new front door can instantly upgrade the look of your home and make it more energy efficient. The Kramer Siding and Window team can also install French doors to your deck or patio, welcoming the outside in, or storm doors for an extra layer of protection against the elements. The estimate is free, financing is available, and the business is local. Schedule your beautiful new door today and save 25%. Call us, click on kramersiding.com, or visit the showroom in Champaign.
Local, personal, trusted. Hi, this is Ata Durakan with First Federal Savings Bank of Champaign-Urbana, and we've been serving Champaign County since 1908. Our institution is safe, strong, and stable. We operate on a foundation of responsible and sound practices, and you can rest easy knowing we're your bank. Rated 5-star superior by Bauer Financial Inc., fast, friendly, and local, with local loan decisions and underwriting. If you're not already banking with us, give us a try, and we think you'll love it here. First Federal Savings Bank, 356bank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS 435120.
You need the world's fastest mower to create your free time. With Dixie Chopper, what you got to look at is the warranties. With Dixie Chopper, all of their models, you're getting a 3-year unlimited hours bumper-to-bumper warranty. That's on the whole thing. Then your commercial units, you get up to a 3-year no-hour limit or 5-year 3,000-hour limit on the drivetrain. So that'd be your engine, your 2 gearboxes, transmissions, and all that.
Well, that sounds pretty solid.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Things break, and even if it's built well like a Dixie Chopper, you need to have that covered, and you get what you pay for, basically.
And I can go see Andy and get on one of those things, couldn't I?
Yes, you can. You can go see Andy at Dedicated Diesel at 1313 Triumph Drive in Urbana. You can reach him through Dedicated Equipment on Facebook, or call him at 217-328-0562. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You as well. Tim Onstadt, Yale Frerichs Trucking, Dedicated Diesel, and Championship Barbecueologist. Cue the band. The winningest coach in the Big Ten over the last 5 seasons. leading this team to the Elite Eight. He is Brad Underwood. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Happy to have you on. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting times.
It really is. It was. I bet the Coaches versus Cancer came pretty big in the window because we played so deep, and all of a sudden you're the grand poobah for this thing, and you get Bill Raftery and you get Greg Campy. That's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. These are these two guys I've known for a long time, and Raftery's obviously a legend. He's done it, as a former coach, and now as maybe the most recognizable voice in college basketball, and he's funny. He's a great human being, and excited for him. And then of course Greg Campy is he was kind of the toast of this year's NCAA tournament with a huge upset at Kentucky, and a guy who's spent 40 years at the same school and watched that program grow, and big advocate for Coaches versus Cancer, and really a great personality. So we've got two dynamic personalities and guys that are funny, and our people will enjoy getting to know these guys.
It's April 16th, Gordyville. There's some tickets left. I just asked Diane, I said, how can you run out of tickets at Gordyville? I mean,
it's huge.
It's like 40 acres, man. I mean, get a lot of people in there. I mean, I just hope a lot of people attend. Last year's were awesome. You had this all-star panel of coaches. It was unbelievable. It's a small circle of coaching, isn't it, Coach?
Yeah, very much so. And I think that, the one thing we've done with Coaches versus Cancer is we continue to grow that network and continue to bring new people in, get new people involved. It's all about bringing awareness to Coaches versus Cancer, to screening. It's touched so many people, and the coaching fraternity is behind this 100%. And 30 years of it. We've seen coaches come and go. Lon Kruger is stepping aside as the chair. I'm going to take over as the chair, and big shoes to fill there. But we're excited. We're going to have 1,700 plus at this event,
wow.
and raise a lot of money and bring a lot of awareness to a great cause.
I thought it was like 1,000. You're pushing there too. Wow. That's a lot of
folks.
Man.
I think it's Coaches versus Cancer's largest indoor event.
Wow. Well, congratulations. You've really done a good job with that. You really pushed that thing. It's awesome. And
we have a lot of fun. It's for great cause.
Are you still kind of embracing that Western theme? I know Pards had their boots as centerpieces.
In the table. That was awesome.
And it was nice to kind of have your jeans and boots on an event like that, Brad.
Yeah, it's about having fun, and I tell everybody that comes to this thing, it's about having fun. It's the people that come and to be entertained and to laugh and to we obviously want them to spend their money and enjoy it, but it's about just getting together for a few hours and having a great time and understanding what we're there for.
All right, Brad Underwood on the Tapman's Joint phone line. I wrote something a number of years ago about how to talk to the media, and I thought this year when you were doing the on-court stuff, when you were doing all your stuff, I thought you were particularly good. I mean, I think you were as relaxed as I've ever seen you in 7 years. I mean, it really looked like you were having fun this time.
Yeah, I think that you have to flip switches really quick with the on court.
Yeah, really.
Timeouts and you've got to gather your thoughts and you may go from offense to defense and they ask you a question that's completely different or whatever. But yeah, I had a great time with this team. This team was fun. This team was. This was a team that stood for all the right things and why we got in it as coaches. to be around and to help guys and to enjoy them and their development and their successes and that was fun this year.
Speaking of fun, who had the super soaker idea in the locker room after some of these key games?
That all goes to our strength coach. I think he was helping me out, knowing that I get doused a lot after these wins, and I figured, I think he figured out that. And by the way, the last Super Soaker was big time. That thing was
that was so huge.
That's right.
That thing could put out some water, but we had fun with it, and it was a way to enjoy the winning and just kind of let your hair down for a little bit.
If I saw a coach with no shirt and goggles, and I'm 22 and I'm a really good basketball player, I'd want to come here.
Yeah.
I mean, now they don't know about the Brad Underwood practice thing sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes that can be something, but you're going to get kids better. Don't you have a track record of guys getting profoundly better here?
Yeah, that's who we are. We're a development program. And we tell young people that in the recruiting process. If you don't want to get better and you don't want to work to put in the time, don't come here. And I'm okay with that. And winning is really, really hard to do. It takes sacrifice, it takes commitment, it takes dedication, and you've got to go above and beyond. And then you have to do that with teammates and other people who may have different attitudes sometimes. So you got to mesh those things, but we've got sheets of analytics and numbers where guys get better, and not just on the court, but in the weight room, in the classroom. That's what my job is. I'm nothing more than a teacher and try to help young people reach their dreams and goals.
We could write a real bestseller here if you can figure out how the connectivity of this team could be year to year. How do you know? You don't, do you? How do you know they're going to hang out after? I mean, how do you get that?
Yeah, and you strive towards it. I think it's why we've won a lot in the last 5 years. Is we have there's a character component to what we try to do in recruit. But it doesn't always mesh, and it doesn't always line up perfectly. And this year's group was not only talented, but they were funny. They knew how. We had 107 practices this year. We had 3 bad ones.
Wow.
Two of them came before the Penn State game.
Wow.
And and it was a very, very mature group. This group did it better than any team we've had, to a minimum, and didn't let social media, didn't let the media, didn't let outside noises get to them, and then they just, this group had personality, and they weren't afraid to show it, and that was enjoyable.
I gotta ask, when you guys won, I don't know, Big Ten, I'm not sure which it was, but Tyler Underwood, your son, sits next to you, and you turned and hugged him so hard. And I can't imagine the joy to have your son sitting next to you. And I have a sense, and I think I'm right, that Tyler Underwood is becoming a really good coach.
Yeah. There's nothing like that. I missed all of Tyler's growing up. I was 26 years before I became a head coach, and when you're not a head coach, you don't manage time. You're on somebody else's, and so I was never a coach. I was never a youth coach. I was always gone. Back then, the month of July was basically an entire month of recruiting. You were heavily involved in camps in June, so I was kind of an absentee father, and now to have Tyler with me every day is really special, and then. You're right. He is becoming a heck of a coach, and he's got great presence, and for a young guy, and very smart. And then he got his mom's brains there. By the way,
I just sense he's soaking it all in, but sifting what he wants to become, who he's going to be. But I think he had an impact when Iowa was here. I think the kid's just been a silent real difference maker, and it's just a perception and feeling I have of his impact that is going unnoticed. And I just wanted to shout out. I think he's a great kid. We've been golfing with him, with Chris